Welcome to my backyard vegetable jungle. I garden on central Vancouver Island in British Columbia, Canada. It's been about 12 days since I last did an update on my backyard vegetable garden, and there's been tons of exciting developments. Let's go check them out. First, as we go down the outside of the garden, we have tomatoes. Nothing is ripe yet. They're still forming, but they're getting a little bigger. Quite a few on different bushes here. These are my 3 potted tomatoes from my DIY greenhouse video. I will link that in the cards or the description. They are doing outrageously well. They have outgrown their cages, and they are definitely producing lots of tomatoes. Coming into the garden from the far back corner, we are going to see the most exciting development, in my opinion. Here is my Big Max pumpkin plant, and I'm so excited to report Pumpkin Big Max has its very first flower. I am so over the moon excited. I know there are more flowers coming. There are lots of flower buds on this pumpkin, so I cannot wait to see how this grows and develops. There it is in the garden supervisor protection, and it has outgrown its protection and is now just cascading into the garden. I'm gonna let it do its thing. We've got some more flower buds here. These ones are females. The one I showed you over here, this is a male flower. If you're unfamiliar with how pumpkins and squash pollinate, you need both a female and a male to pollinate each other to produce pumpkins or squash. So it is looking promising. We've got a female flower here and a female flower here. And right next to my pumpkin Big Max, over right here, this is my Dill's Atlantic Giant. It is so tiny in comparison to pumpkin Big Max, but I guess that just goes to show that pumpkin Big Max is probably going to grow bigger pumpkins than Dill's Atlantic Giant. You're going to want to stay tuned right to the end of this video, because I'm going to show you how my secret pumpkin farm is doing that I revealed in a previous video. So watch right till the end, otherwise you will miss out. If you're new here, I'm attempting to grow the world's largest pumpkin and the world's largest watermelon this year using Mary's heirloom seeds. And Big Max pumpkin was one of the varieties I planted in an attempt to win her pumpkin growing contest and grow the biggest pumpkin in the entire world. The next exciting development is I have a ton of raspberries that are starting to ripen. In my vegetable jungle, I have both traditional red raspberries as well as golden raspberries, and let me tell you, the golden ones are my absolute favorites. Let's pick one and do a little taste test. Here is the raspberry we just picked. It is so delicious. It's got a different flavor than your traditional raspberry. I want to say it's less tangy, almost more mild, and the sweetness is different, but in my opinion, I definitely prefer the golden ones to the red ones. The red ones are delicious, but the golden ones are just one notch better on the scale of yummy, if you want to do a berry deliciousness scale. These golden raspberries are mildly sweet, not tangy, and super delicious. I could just have a feast on these raspberries alone. Next, we're going to check out my beans. My beans have these gorgeous purple flowers, and I guess these are the first beans just starting to form now. I've seen so many YouTubers posting their harvests already, and mine are just starting to form their first beans. And here is the little trellis. They have outgrown the latest bamboo stake I just added a couple days ago. I think I may cut some more pieces of bamboo and add them to this trellis and see how high I can get this bean plant to climb. I'm really curious how high it would climb if it had more square footage. Next, we're going to check out these beautiful crocosmias. The hummingbirds have been delighting in these flowers. Coming this way into the garden, we are going to look at my rattlesnake watermelon. Here is the first two plants growing very close together. They're doing really well. No flowers yet, but very healthy. These are from Mary's Heirloom Seeds, and I'm growing these in an attempt to grow the world's largest watermelon. I've got quite a few plants. This tiny little plant is growing ever so slowly, but it's very healthy. And then I have two more side by side that are doing really well. Again, no flowers yet. Here is another one that might be either vining out or going to flower. I think it's going to vine out, hard to say. Lots of growth here. And this plant was on ICU back in some previous videos, and it is super healthy. Love that. Now we're going to spin around and look at my Desert King watermelon. Not quite as healthy, but they're hanging in there. Still a little small. Here's one more of the Desert King watermelons. Definitely slower growing than my rattlesnake watermelon. My garlic is starting to get a little more brown on its leaves. You may have seen a recent scape harvesting video. They have definitely started to change color since then. Still gonna give it a little more time before I pull these and harvest them, but pretty soon the garlic will be ready to harvest. My sunflowers are just going bonkers in this garden. This one here is quite tall and very lush. We've got another one on the opposite side of the garden that is quite tall and lush. And you can see one outside the garden that is going for it, reaching for the sky. Checking out the area beside Pumpkin Big Macs, my potato, tomato, and raspberry jungle is still going strong. The leaves are getting a little bit of yellow on this potato plant, but no brown yet. Well, I take that back. There's a tiny bit of browning right here. So maybe we're starting to see the latter stages of development. I'll probably do a harvest soon, but we'll give it a little more time. I've got random poppies growing in the middle of my vegetable garden. These appeared last season. I did not plant them. I'm sure they grew from my compost. I've got one over there as well. Last season I had a bunch in the vegetable garden, and I did turn some into bouquet flowers. Taking a look here, this is another Pumpkin Big Macs. This was planted much later in the season. I have 3 of them actually. When my previous watermelon plants all passed away, I reseeded with more pumpkin seeds, and they're all growing. All of these pumpkins did sprout. It's too soon to say if the pumpkins, being so small, the plants will actually do anything this season, but fingers crossed that we may get even more pumpkins. And I absolutely love pumpkin. I love decorating with it. I love eating it. I love everything about pumpkin, and so does my garden supervisor. So I'm hoping we're going to have a massive pumpkin haul this fall. Fingers crossed. Time will tell, because I'm not usually good at growing pumpkins. Here is a trellis at the back of the garden that I planted beans and cucumbers on, and everything has been growing here really slowly. There is a cucumber plant here that is pretty small still, but it's growing well. And we've got a potato thrown in that I didn't plant. I have another very exciting development growing outside of the vegetable garden, and since I haven't done any backyard garden tours in quite a while, I thought I would just include it on this tour. Here is my sunflower that is going super crazy here, and that is not the most exciting development. You may recall in a video a while back, this year I experimented with growing vegetables outside of my vegetable garden. And here are some of my cucumber plants, and they are just starting to flower. I am so excited. There is a little bit of pest damage from who knows who, but that doesn't bother me too much. I am just thrilled that they are blooming and growing well outside of my vegetable garden. And here is another one going even more bonkers. No flowers on this one though. And a sneak preview, this is my nectarine tree. It is doing absolutely awesome in this little sheltered location. And this flower sprouted. I have this in my cottage garden, but I never planted it here. I believe it's called Mallow. I could be wrong about the name. I got it at a plant sale last season, and somehow it seeded itself up here. But the flowers are so gorgeous. I am not complaining about the self-seeding that occurred. If you know that flower by a different name, let me know in the comments below. I might be mistaken with its identity, but I think it's called Mallow. It could be something else though. And let's just take a moment to appreciate all this creeping thyme. Yes, there are a few grass sprouts and weeds growing in the middle, but overall it's very beautiful. Here's a little update on my potatoes that I have growing in dog food bags. They're doing okay. There is a little bit of yellowing and browning starting on the leaves, so it probably won't be too much longer before I pull these out and see how many potatoes you can harvest from a dog food bag. Here's a look at the pumpkin Big Macs that I transplanted to the other side of the garden early in the season when Dill's Atlantic Giant wouldn't sprout over here. It's doing well, but again, it's not nearly as big as my massive pumpkin Big Macs. Right in front of you is a little border of sunflowers. I absolutely love this and cannot wait for all of these sunflowers to start blooming. Here he is, super late to the party. The tour is practically finished and he is just joining us. He has decided he's going to do some doggy yoga in the dead grass. I think you would call this downward dog. If you were into yoga, this pose is most likely called downward dog. Zipper, you almost missed out. Here he is, the dancing in the grassman, making his debut. In case you missed my taste testing edible flowers video, I'm going to link it in the cards up here. And check it out. It's very interesting to taste edible flowers if you've never tried them before. Welcome to my front yard pumpkin farm. I've got pumpkins planted all throughout this area. There's one here, tiny little one here, another one here. Got a good size one here and here, a medium one here. These roses are just so beautiful, blooming at the end of this narrow garden. The best part about this pumpkin farm is that the neighbor's sprinkler system right over here waters almost half of this little pumpkin garden. Coming into the rock garden, we've got a few pumpkin plants hidden in here. Beside my Japanese maple, we've got a tiny little pumpkin plant. We've got a arched pumpkin plant beside some poppies. We've got another pumpkin plant. And right beside my California lilac, there is another pumpkin plant. And beside this blueberry bush, we've got another pumpkin plant in this narrow garden area. The best part about my pumpkin patch is that the neighbor's sprinkler right here waters about 50% of my little pumpkin farm in the front yard garden. So that is super awesome. I don't think they even realize that their sprinkler waters my garden. Thank you so much for watching my vegetable garden update. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you'd love to see more similar videos in the future. And let me know in the comments, what is the most exciting development going on in your garden right now? Could be a flower that is blooming or a plant that has sprouted. I would love to know what is getting you super excited in your garden. So leave it in the comments below and I will be delighted to find out what's going on in your area. I hope you are having a lovely day, evening, night, wherever you are, and we will see you in another section of the garden very soon. Good night!